Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my Blacadian universe. I hope everyone is doing well. Before we get started today, just a quick reminder to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, just so that you never miss an episode. So it is February and it is Black History Month. And I was reflecting on a time when someone asked me what radicalized me. And I was reflecting on that this month, and I want to talk about it. So let's talk about it. So my first inclination was, I don't know if I would say that, my stance on thinking that, Black Lives Matter is radical, but on reflection, I did get it. I got, what she was driving at, which was, what was that catalyst for me appreciating that not everyone felt that way, unfortunately. So I get that, unfortunately, it is radical thought, fighting for equality, unfortunately, is against, the status quo. And so I told her this distinctive memory I had of just basically thinking this is bullshit for a lack of a, better summary. And I've told, for those of you who've listened to the podcast, I've told this story before, but it was a pivotal moment for me. So I grew up in a predominantly white neighborhood, and one of my good friends at the time, we were just talking about, the future and like our plans and, university and all this stuff. And she was, I guess, taken aback by the fact that I had gotten accepted into a very, prestigious university in Canada here, and I was obviously going to go. And, her comment was like, "Oh, Denise, if you end up being like richer than me, like, just like I can't handle it, or like that'd be so weird or stupid or ridiculous," something to that effect. And I was shocked by this statement, and it hurt because this is like my friend that I've known for years and years and years, gone to the same elementary school, high school. She threw me a birthday party, gathered my friends, like we spent time, like we were close. And I thought this was someone who genuinely had affection for me. I knew she had genuine affection for me, and I for her. And what stood out for me, what, sort of shook me to my core, was that this was someone who genuinely had love for me, and it would be bizarre for her. It would not make sense in her world if I was successful and, wealthy and, just thriving. To her, that would be backward, that would be bizarre, that wouldn't make sense to her, and she just wouldn't be able to function. And I thought, if this is someone who can think that about me, who knows me, who cares for me, imagine what some person who actually is aware that they're racist, that they have this view of this racial hierarchy in life. Imagine what they must think of me when someone who knows and cares for me still needs me to be less than and lower than them to feel satisfied and happy. And I thought, wow, this goes deep. This goes so deep that she doesn't understand just how offensive, hurtful, and crazy that statement is. That, she thinks that it's perfectly acceptable and normal to feel that way. And yeah, that was the moment where I was so-called radicalized, where I realized that it's not just, your quote unquote, I guess, more obvious racists that are going to be rooting against you and, trying to hold you down. It could be your friends too. And that was the moment for me. So I really like this question, and this is something that I've over the years asked my friends, other EDI advocates, and just, people in general. And I'm always, well, not anymore, but I was initially always surprised that it was never a big moment. It was always these little quiet moments that really had a moment, had a profound effect on them and, how they viewed the world. It was always, a little takeaway that really resonated with them to show just how far-reaching and deep racism goes. One of my friends was saying that, her family immigrated to Canada because she had darker skin in her family. They were, another person was saying, a similar story. They were like from Brazil, and, they were saying like, their other family was very fair skinned with light eyes, and, they had darker skin, and their family just, was like, the life is going to be harder for her here, so we need to leave. And so, having that realization that your family just like had to uproot their life for you is powerful, like, and she's like, oh, this was like years later when I realized what was happening. Or, a friend of mine was saying when they dated someone outside of their race, and the reaction that they got, the way people stared at them, the way they were interacted with and perceived, and just, so different from, when they weren't dating someone outside of their race. Someone, talking, some of my bosses, talking about how people assumed that they couldn't possibly be in their role, the way they would speak with them, the questions they would get, about their, education. Someone who was Indigenous talking about, someone demanding to know how much they paid for their university education. Because, there are, incentives and for Indigenous people to attend university with, tuition, forgiveness or breaks, just all these just moments where they were sort of taken aback because, when you're at the crazy thing about racism is when you're out just trying to live your life, do your job, hang with your friends, sometimes it can just leap out at you and sort of take you off guard. It sort of startles you when you're sort of, just trying to live your life. And I think that's sort of all the stories that I've heard over the years, I think that's sort of what resonated with me, is that someone was shocked that they were amongst peers, amongst like-minded people, amongst friends. And, we're taught that, racism is going to be very loud and obvious, and it's going to be coming from someone that looks a certain way, that's going to be very overt about their hatred of you. And obviously it does happen, but I think those moments where we were lulled into this sense of comfort and safety, I think that's when most of us that's what stands out with the stories that I've heard. It's just that those were the most powerful moments when it came from a source that we didn't really expect. And I think that's what's so powerful about it, and why it sort of, lit that fire on us, sort of made that switch in us, is because it made us realize just far deep down the rabbit hole it goes, to quote one of my favorite movies. So I do love this question of, what radicalized you. Let me know, in the comments, and just let me know what radicalized you, what made you, wise to white supremacy. Was it a big moment, or was it something, small that sort of, lit that fire in you? I'm always fascinated to know. And I'm looking forward to the day when this isn't radical thought, when equality and inclusion and diversity and the celebration of, diversity is the norm. So as much as I first, sort of started or at this question, it's come to be one of my favorites. So as always, thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next time.